No one remembered the last moment of peace before the broadcast. 1 second, every screen across the settled galaxy glowed with routine political chatter. The next, the displays glitched into a pale blue shimmer, an eerie stillness that always preceded Imperial announcements. But this one was different. When the static cleared, the image that appeared didn't just command attention. It devoured it. Miles of open ground stretched beneath the serrated banners of the Galactic Empire, and standing in precise, merciless formation were 7 million human mothers. Some trembling, some whispering names of children they would never see again, some standing with that stubborn, unbreakable posture Earth was known for, a posture that made even fear look like defiance. A thin, translucent alien, skin pulsing like a dying starfish, glided forward. Its voice rasped through every channel with metallic precision. By decree of his celestial sovereignty, these maternal units are hereby nullified to demonstrate dominion over the Terran species. Not killed, nullified, erased as if they were smudges on a glass screen. 7 million pillars of home and memory stood beneath the execution lattice. 7 million lights ignited. 7 million bodies dropped at once, like a single, unbearable heartbeat ending. The galaxy reacted instantly. The Aeronids, who spoke in jittery pebble clicks, murmured, "Humans are emotional. They will crumble." The Terrans, pudgy bureaucrats who resembled sentient pudding sacks, wobbled with smug amusement. The Vormar warlords roared thunderous approval. Even the soft-voiced Serafi, feathered mystics who rarely raised their tones at all, whispered a warning. The Empire has awakened something that should have stayed sleeping. But the strangest reaction came from Earth. No riots, no screams, no desperate bargaining, no frantic calls for pity. Instead, a suffocating, eerie stillness washed over every Terran city, every orbital colony, every remote outpost. It was as though all of humanity had inhaled at the same time and held its breath in a single, unified promise. Then, one message pinged across the galactic network. Earth requests communication. When the feed opened, the aliens expecting fire, rage, or hysteria instead saw a woman, human, late 30s, sitting in a compact command office with metal walls and dim lights. No banners, no ceremonial armor, only a matte black uniform with a battered NASA bomber jacket draped over it, its patch reading, "Houston, we fix problems." Her hair was tied back in a quick knot. A cup of steaming coffee rested by her elbow. She looked like someone preparing for a casual morning briefing, not addressing the aftermath of genocide. She smiled politely. "Good evening. I'm General Aria Hale of the Terran Unified Defense Network. I hope your day is manageable." The calmness was so unnatural, some species assumed it was a glitch. Aria tapped the table lightly with one finger. 7 million mothers executed to prove a point. Cruel, certainly. Wasteful, absolutely. But at least the Empire has made its position clear. Her tone remained warm, like someone discussing weather. "We humans value honesty in relationships," she continued, "even hostile ones." A few alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. The older species recognized that tone. It was a voice humans used right before they committed to something irreversible. "We won't answer in anger," Aria said. "Anger is messy. We prefer calculated fairness." She leaned in slightly, the warm smile dimming into something sharper. "You didn't attack soldiers. You didn't target politicians. You struck at the people who raised our species, those who taught us how to stand, how to love, how to fight. So we want to show you what their children grew up to become." Her hand hovered over a console. "And for clarity, our response is not retaliation. It is housekeeping." She pressed a button. Across every screen in every star system, a text message appeared. "Operation. Clean slate initiated." Then Earth's fleets vanished. Not cloaked, not scrambled. Simply gone, as if humanity had stepped sideways out of reality. Alien command centers erupted in panic. Sensors failed. Models crashed. War rooms fell into frantic chaos. The galaxy waited for Earth's rule. Instead, it received silence. But that silence carried a shape. A promise. A storm. When the galaxy finally found its voice again, it was only to ask one trembling question. Where did the humans go? For nearly an hour after Earth's fleets disappeared, the galaxy trembled in an unfamiliar kind of fear, the kind that grows in silence. Every major species attempted to restore calm through force logic. Humans are slow, the Aeronids insisted. They cannot simply vanish. They lack the computational refinement for mass cloaking. The Turins jiggled nervously. They are bluffing. The Vormar warlords growled, though their voices cracked on the last syllable. They have shed their skin, whispered the Seraphi, and something older is beneath. But speculation collapsed when the strategic lights fell across the galaxy, every command center, every sensor array, every war room, flickering at exactly the same nanosecond. It was not a glitch. It was not sabotage. It felt like a shadow sliding over their entire civilization. When the systems rebooted, every galactic species saw the same horrifying anomaly. Every Terran warship had been wiped from every database. Not jammed, not cloaked, not out of range. Removed, as if they had never existed. Panic splintered across the networks. Admirals screamed at analysts. Analysts cursed at machines. The machines offered no answers. Then the galaxy received another message. A simple text. Calm. Curtes. Human. Please remain indoors. Environmental cleansing is underway. General Aria hail. Some aliens fainted. Others vomited. A few simply knelt, instinct overriding pride. The Turins squealed. Cleansing? That is what they call it. The Vormar general snarled. They mock us, doing his best to hide how his hands shook. Before any species could assemble a response fleet, the sky above 42 Imperial-controlled worlds rippled, literally rippled, like the fabric of space was water and something enormous pushed through. There was no warp flash, no sound, no gravitational warning. One moment the stars were clear. The next, obsidian ships appeared, sketched across the heavens like strokes of a black quill. The Empire's news drone zoomed desperately closer, capturing the nightmare in real time. What are those? Whispered an alien reporter. The answer didn't come from the Empire. It came from a human pilot, broadcasting on an open channel the Empire never meant to intercept. His boots were propped lazily on the console, chewing a piece of gum as though he was sitting on the porch of some quiet farm on Terra. His voice drawled with a soft southern twang. Well now, that's a Terran Veil fleet. We don't usually take him out unless someone's done something real stupid. Then he spit out his gum into a cup. And you're done something real stupid. Every alien watching nearly passed out. Inside the flagship of the Veil fleet, General Aria Hale stood within a dark tactical chamber illuminated only by drifting screens. She raised her hand, and the room fell silent. Not a fearful silence, an attentive one, like soldiers listening to the calm before a surgical strike. Status, she said. Her second-in-command, Commander Rowan Idris, stepped forward, sharp-eyed and inconveniently honest. All Veil units deployed. No wake signatures left behind. Empire sensors detect nothing. Aria gave a small approving nod. And the internal situation. Rowan exhaled. The North American battalion is fighting with the Australian battalion again. Aria blinked. Over what this time? Who invented the right version of barbecue? Aria rubbed her temple. During an extinction-level operation. They say psychological clarity improves when fed properly. Of course they do. The humans shouldn't have belonged here, not on the eve of vengeance, but humanity had always fought well the way they lived life, with grief sharpened into resolve, with fear molded into strategy, and with jokes stitched into the cracks so they would not break. Then the first strike hit. Not with fire, not with thunder, but with erasure. The Veil fleet fired beams of compressed vacuum, lines of nothingness so precise they cut through matter like a surgeon's scalpel. Empire cruisers vanished from existence. Planetary shields folded like thin paper. Tactical fortresses evaporated before alarms could finish ringing. Empire forces scrambled to respond, but their systems kept failing, misfiring, or reporting impossible data. Every time they recalibrated, a Veil vessel appeared in a blind spot they never knew existed. You can't hit what doesn't sit inside normal space-time, Rowan murmured with a razor-thin smile. Empire admirals screamed. Engineers sobbed. Veterans prayed. But there was no countermeasure for an enemy that moved like a ghost, struck like a hawk, and vanished like a shadow. Across the galaxy, watching species whispered the same chilling truth. This is not revenge. It's discipline. They had awakened something they did not understand, something they could no longer stop. But the Empire's true nightmare began not when their ships fell, but when the humans appeared inside their throne room without ever opening a door. The Empire had endured rebellions, plagues, supernovas, and political storms that toppled civilizations far older than theirs. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared them for the terror unfolding across their territories. The first signs of collapse came not from the war front, but from the outer colonies, where the screams of seasoned soldiers bled through comms. They're inside our atmosphere. Our turrets won't lock. Their ships don't appear on our sensors, because they are not in our sensors. We can't even aim. They move between moments. The final transmission from Sector 7 dissolved into static and sobbing. By the time the chaos reached the Imperial capital, composure was gone. Generals clashed verbally, data officers panicked over incomprehensible readings, and palace guards braced at every doorway as if the shadows themselves were sharpening knives. The Emperor, Craxus the Unshaken, watched from his throne. His obsidian skin shimmered like a cracked monument, and molten gold swirled in his eyes. He looked carved from rage. "How are the Terrans bypassing our defenses?" he demanded, voice etched with volcanic steel. Their fleets were primitive. No one answered. A trembling tactician finally stepped forward, projecting a hologram of chaotic, incomplete data fragments. "Your Majesty, we believe the humans are not defeating our defenses. They are stepping around them." Craxus narrowed his burning gaze. "Explain." "They appear between sensor pulses. They strike in the gaps between our frames of reality. They do not travel through space so much as slide past it." "Impossible," the Emperor growled, but there was uncertainty in the way the words trembled. Before anyone could elaborate, the throne hall lights dimmed. Not flickered, not failed, dimmed, as if something unseen had entered and the darkness bowed to greet it. A soft distortion shimmered in the air, and then she was there. General Aria Hale, standing at the center of the Empire's most secure chamber, without doors opening, without alarms, without explanation. An impossible projection, her form glowing like a moonlit echo. "Good morning," she said pleasantly, though it was midnight by Imperial time. "I hope I'm not interrupting any important panic." Weapons were drawn instantly. Plasma, compressed acid rifles, organic blades engineered from bioforges. None of it mattered. The weapon sliced through a projection harmlessly, striking only air. The Emperor rose to his towering height, his shadow swallowing the space around him. "You dare appear in my chamber," he snarled, "after slaughtering my fleets." Arya smiled softly. "Fleet management is such a heavy burden. I'm simply helping lighten your workload." Gasps erupted. A few generals choked on their own breath. Arya continued, tone warm, almost apologetic. "I realize you're confused. Most species collapse under this level of uncertainty. Allow me to clarify." With a gesture, she summoned a second hologram, an unfolding timeline stretching back 3 centuries. "You assumed humans stumbled into the galactic community unprepared," she said. "But for 300 years, we've been studying your star maps, your ruins, your discarded technology, your psychological warfare strategies. Humans don't explore blindly. We catalog the predators first." A general fainted. Another fled the room only to collapse outside the doors. The Emperor glared, molten eyes brightening. "You claim you've been preparing for us." Arya's smile faded, replaced by a cold, quiet truth. "We've been preparing for anyone who dared make themselves a threat." She nodded toward the hologram of the erased mothers. "Your empire merely forced the timeline forward." Then the light surged back on. The room shook, not from her projection, but from outside. A sound vibrated across every Imperial channel, a haunting hum layered with reverse human voices, woven into a frequency that targeted alien neural pathways. It didn't kill. It didn't even injure. It invoked pure animal terror. Empire soldiers collapsed. Counselors begged unseen gods. Even the Emperor staggered. "What is that?" A general gasped between trembling breaths. Arya answered with chilling calm. "A reminder of the lives you ended. The echoes of the mothers you erased, tuned to resonate with your nervous system. The Emperor roared, "You are monsters." Arya's expression softened with tragic sincerity. "No, we simply learn from one." Outside the palace windows, thousands of Terran Veil ships folded into existence, silent, precise, inevitable. The war was no longer coming. It was here. And when the humans finally stepped inside the Imperial capital, not as invaders, but as executioners of justice, the Empire learned the one truth every species fears. Humans do not break. They evolve. The capital planet of the Empire, once a monument of indestructible might, now burned in concentric spirals, each ring collapsing with mathematical precision. Terran ships hovered above the devastation like silent judges, their obsidian hulls bending the starlight around them until the sky looked torn open. At the center of orbit hung the largest human warship ever constructed, the Horizon Divide. It was colossal, shaped like the ribcage of a fallen titan, its core glowing with restrained gravitational fury. Every time its engines pulsed, the Empire's planetary crust shivered. Below it, the once proud capital, fortress of trillions, looked small beneath the shadow of humanity's cold resolve. Inside the Imperial throne hall, the Emperor stood unmoving as a world around him fractured. Once statuesque and unshakable, he now resembled a relic cracking under its own legend. Outside, the screams of his people echoed like a fading Empire song. His generals trembled. His advisors whispered desperate calculations. Those who once boasted of invincibility now prayed to gods who had never answered them. At last, a frail diplomat stepped forward and croaked the unthinkable. "We must beg for mercy. Humans value compassion. They must." The Emperor did not look at him. His jaw clenched. His breath shook. "We slaughtered their mothers," he whispered. "Mercy is not coming." But desperation overrides memory. Within moments, a white flag signal shot into orbit, a relic of ancient wars, rarely used, but universally understood. A plea not for peace, but for a pause. To the Empire's shock, the Terrans responded. A single ship broke formation, gliding down through the smoke-choked sky. Its descent was gentle, almost polite. No weapons drawn, no threats broadcast. Its presence alone was threat enough. The ship landed with a soft hiss. The ramp lowered, and General Arya Hale stepped out. Her black uniform was scorched by heat and ash, her bomber jacket fluttering in the burning wind. There was no hurry in her movement, no triumph, only the steady walk of someone carrying justice, not vengeance. 2 Terra Marines followed, alert but at ease, their armor glinting faintly as if absorbing the dying light of the Empire sun. The envoy collapsed to his knees. "General Hale," he choked, "we surrender. Spare our civilians. Spare our worlds. Please, we beg." Arya raised a hand, stopping him with gentle, terrifying grace. "Mercy is not mine to deny," she murmured. "Not yet." The Emperor finally approached, towering over her like a mountain carved from obsidian hatred. His molten eyes burned with something between fury and despair. "You think this victory is justice," he growled. "You think this vengeance restores what you lost." Arya looked up at him, unflinching. "No, this isn't vengeance." He snarled. "Then what is it?" "Correction." The word sliced the room colder than any blade. "We showed kindness for centuries, offered knowledge, trade, friendship, and you broadcasted a genocide to prove dominance." She stepped closer, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. "You didn't break us. You unified us. You gave humanity the clarity it needed." The Emperor's jaw trembled. "You manipulated us." Arya shook her head. "You manipulated yourselves. All we needed was for you to strike the one thing humans will unite for across every city, every faction, every bloodline." She held his gaze. "You chose mothers. You chose extinction." Suddenly, the Emperor lunged, massive, fast, fueled by last-ditch desperation. But he froze mid-strike, suspended in a shimmering containment field. The energy cage pulsed around him like crystal lightning. Commander Rowan Idris walked down the ramp, holding a compact device humming softly. "Density report," Rowan muttered. His ego weighs more than the rest of him. One of the Marines snorted. Maybe enough to power the ship. Even on a dying world, human humor seeped through like stubborn sunlight. Arya approached the Emperor, voice dropping to a quiet, devastating softness. Had you targeted soldiers, we might have negotiated. Had you targeted leaders, we would have retaliated with restraint. But you targeted the people who raise humanity. Her eyes gleamed, not with tears, but with conviction sharpened into steel. That is why this war was never going to end with a treaty. Behind her, alarms blared, deep, resonant, world-ending tones. The horizon divide had opened its core. A glowing beacon of gravitational energy spread across the sky, capable of dismantling entire empires without shedding civilian blood. The envoy screamed, "Stop! There are billions of innocents." Arya turned to him with almost maternal gentleness. "Then you should thank us." Rowan activated her device. Across the planet, hundreds of shimmering portals burst open, so bright they outshined the fires. Civilians were pulled through in streams of light, transported to neutral worlds across the galaxy. Even the Emperor gasped. "You're saving them." Arya nodded. "We don't erase the innocent. Mothers taught us better." Above them, the horizon divide roared, preparing its final judgment. "This is for them," Arya whispered. But the Empire's death would not be the end, because something ancient stirred in the dark beyond their ruins, and it had been waiting for humanity to awaken. The horizon divide released its judgment in a column of white-gold brilliance. It didn't scorch. It didn't detonate. It unmade the Empire's war machine with surgical precision. Planetary cannons folded inward like paper ornaments. Command relays imploded into harmless dust. Warships orbiting above the capital unraveled cell by cell, dissolving into quiet stardust. And when the light faded, the Empire, once the galaxy's greatest predator, stood stripped of its claws and left with nothing but the echo of its arrogance. General Arya Hale exhaled softly, not in relief, not in triumph, in acknowledgement. The war against the Empire was over, but the horizon was not calm. Not anymore. Terran sensors flickered violently. Static first, then a strange oscillating hum that crawled across every display. Commander Rowan Idris glanced down at her wristboard, eyebrows knitting. "That is not Imperial tech." Arya frowned. "Report." Rowan tried again. The readings were chaotic, non-linear, shifting in dimensions no human system should have been able to detect. "Something massive just appeared beyond the capital shadow line," Rowan muttered. "Not cloaked. Not jumping. It just blinked into existence." The surviving alien envoy staggered to his feet, terror draining the last color from his skin. "No," he rasped. "No, no, no, you weren't meant to wake it." Arya turned sharply. "You know what this is." His voice shook like crumbling stone. The Empire never acted alone. They serve something older, something that feeds on conflict. It sleeps in the spaces between galaxies, and your retaliation, your silence, your unity woke it. The ground trembled. The sky darkened, not from clouds, not from ash, but from a silhouette so enormous it eclipsed the sun. Its shape rippled like a continent of shadows suspended in space. Tendrils of cold, starlit mist drifted from its edges, warping light like a living black hole. Arya's voice dropped to a whisper. "Rowan, tell me that thing is a glitch." Rowan swallowed. "I don't think glitches cause gravitational tides." Across the cracked plains of the capital, humans and aliens alike stared upward as a colossal entity unfolded, layer by layer, like an ancient leviathan stretching after centuries of dormancy. A voice filled their minds. Not spoken, not broadcast. Felt. At last, a species that resists extinction. Arya stiffened. "It's communicating." Rowan nodded grimly, directly into our neural fields. The Emperor, still trapped within the containment field, let out a strangled, defeated hiss. "You doomed us all," he growled. "Our empire fed it. Our wars fed it. Our cruelty sustained it. And you destroyed its meal." Arya stepped toward him. "Your empire slaughtered millions of innocents," she said. "I'd do it again." "You don't understand," he spat. "It starves without war. It consumes civilizations that end conflict." Rowan's eyes widened. So peace is the trigger. A low vibration rolled across the battlefield. The shadow Leviathan lowered its massive, rippling form toward the planet, its edges brushing the upper atmosphere. The air temperature dropped instantly, frost forming across shattered stone. The entity's voice tightened, as if testing humanity's spine. Terrans, you have ended my harvest. You will replace what you destroyed. Arya's expression hardened, not with fear, but with the resolve of someone who had lost too much to bow to shadows. She tapped her comm. All Terran units. Defensive grid, full spectrum. Pattern Hail 7. Her marine snapped into motion. The horizon divide repositioned above the entity, its gravitational engines burning white. Ghost ships folded into existence around it like daggers orbiting a titan. The envoy collapsed again. You cannot fight it. Arya didn't look back. Humanity doesn't fear things that hide in the dark, she said. We were born under skies filled with storms. The shadow Leviathan expanded, forming a maw that bent light, space, memory. Tendrils of UN light reached toward the planet. Arya raised a chin. You consume civilizations that beg for mercy. She extended her hand toward her fleet. We're not begging. Thousands of Terran vessels aligned behind her command. The horizon divide's core unleashed a hum that made reality itself quiver. Arya's next words were soft, almost a whisper. Operation Black Star. The sky erupted. White light clashed with impossible darkness. Gravity collided with anti-gravity. Space folded like fabric caught between fists of warring gods. The battlefield ignited with the fury of a species cornered and refusing to die. The shadow entity shrieked across frequencies that shattered stone and bent metal. Arya didn't flinch. This, she said quietly, is for the mothers and for those who will never fear shadows again. The final blast tore through the sky, and when the darkness finally split open, something stepped out of the light behind Arya, something no human had seen in centuries, something that wasn't supposed to exist anymore.